Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for us to be back together. Today, I have a very special guest. We've been talking all week about makeup tune-up, and I have a former client of Makeup Tune-up here to talk about her experience, and I want to introduce you all to Sarah Cottrell. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here because we actually met outside of the world of makeup and 85 beauty and everything that I do. We met in a business coaching program that we were both a part of, and now I'm like, our lives are intersected in all these other beautiful, wonderful ways. And
It's so true.
I absolutely attribute a big part to our becoming friends, working together on a weekly basis in Makeup Tune-up.
Yes, for
Yes.
sure. For sure. Yes, makeup tune-up was one of my bright spots of 2020.
Yes. Isn't that so real? Like,
So
with
real.
everything going on, being able to be like, well, listen, at least I get to have a really good time every single week with some cool people and not talk about the pandemic. That's pretty great.
Yeah, it was really wonderful.
I'm so glad. Okay, so if you could start by just telling us a little bit about the work that you do, who you are, what your life is like, so that people can just get a glimpse of what that looks like.
Yeah, so I am a former lawyer. I practiced law for 10 years and I left legal practice 2.5 years ago. And now, among other things, I run a business called Former Lawyer, where I host the Former Lawyer podcast, interviewing other lawyers who've left the law to do other things. And I also help lawyers who are wanting to transition out of law do that. Um, I'm also a mom to two girls who are 2 and 5, and I'm a wife, and I like to read, and I live in Pennsylvania, which is where I grew up, and that's a very brief bit of information about me, or maybe not so brief.
No, it's helpful information. It's really great. So what I gathered from all of that is that, like, I think what often happens when people think about makeup is that, like, you have to know what you're doing ahead of time, and you have to be like a makeup expert or a specialist or a makeup junkie who's just obsessed with it all the time. And you are a wonderful, incredible person, but you're also an everyday human on the earth, right? Like, I remember
Yes.
us having these conversations about, I asked you before, like right when you joined, I was like, okay, so like what made you join Makeup Tune Up? So tell us a little bit about that. What were your reasons for joining?
Yeah. So, and I think you were sort of getting at this, but I am not like I would not describe myself as like a big makeup person. Like I don't always wear makeup. I did when I worked in an office, but it was like literally like 3 minutes worth of makeup. I mean, like very simple. Um, and I think that was for a lot of reasons. It was just sort of what I'd done since forever. I mean, this is one of the conversations that we had in Makeup Tune Up. I'll be 38 in June, and I pretty much learned how to do makeup in my teens and then didn't really learn much beyond that. And anyway, so for me, Makeup Tune Up was like just an opportunity to learn about something that I um didn't have a lot of knowledge about. And, Keela, I know we talked about this, but you get into your 30s and you are like, okay, I don't really know how, like, specifically we talked about eyeliner and like how I just like had never done it, didn't really know how to do it, had tried it a couple times, was like, this is a disaster. Did I like miss the class where everyone else went and they found out how to do this and I just didn't? Just realizing like there were these huge gaps in my knowledge, and I just wanted to feel more. I told a friend of mine, I said, I want to know that if I'm not wearing eyeliner, it's because I'm choosing not to, not because I don't know how. Um, and so for
Mm.
me, that was a big part of wanting to be a part of Makeup Tune Up, just to learn about something that uh, I didn't have that much knowledge about.
That is Oh gosh, that's such a big thing. The idea that you're not wearing something because you choose not to, but not because you don't know how. I mean, that I think so many of us want more control over our decisions, over our lives, over everything. And I don't want anyone to count themselves out. And it sounds like that was kind of what was happening. And it's what I hear all the time is that, well, I tried it and it was terrible. And so I just never went back.
Yeah, and I think there's this assumption, at least there was for me, that like I should know how to do these things, and if I didn't, it's because it wasn't for me, right?
Yeah.
Like not like, oh, this just is a skill that I could develop or like an interest that I could, spend a little bit more time on. It was sort of like, oh, well, this is not really a thing for me. And that must be because it's like not supposed to be for me. Um, uh, and even now after going through makeup tune up, it's not like my personality was changed, right? And I went from like, whatever to like, um, being like super involved with my makeup and spending like lots of time on it. Like I'm still the same person that I was before, but I feel like the thing that I loved about it was that like I did have that opportunity to just um get more insight into how it works, see that like, oh, it wasn't actually that I like missed something. It's just like it like anything else, it's a skill you can acquire. And also for me, like bringing in just some elements of fun. Like the program itself was fun, like getting to know the other people in the program was fun. The way like it wasn't like you were like, let me now give you a lecture about the components of like various types of blush or like I don't know, whatever. So it was like it was fun, and it also helped me feel more equipped to do things with makeup that I might not otherwise do. And again, just giving me that choice, like, is this something I want to do? Yes, no, but like it's a decision that I'm making as opposed to just like I don't feel like this is an option for me.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. So, if you had some hesitations about joining, what were some of those hesitations?
I mean, for sure the biggest thing for me was like I just didn't see myself, like becoming someone who just like really wanted to experiment with my makeup all the time and wanted to spend lots of time like making like really involved different looks or you know I, I the biggest hesitation was like, is this for me, a like kind of normal person, normal-ish person who like is like not completely disinterested but not like this is my life and I love like everything about it. But the thing is, for me, like the way the program was set up and just like the things that we were going to talk about, it felt like there was room for people like me who didn't have, who like who weren't for who this wasn't like a huge interest, but then also for people who maybe like did have more of that interest and were wanting to just like mix things up. And so it felt ultimately like it would be a welcoming place, even for me, even for the person who didn't know how to do eyeliner and only owned like one eyeshadow.
Yes. And I remember us talking about how you you don't need a lot of stuff, right? There's a sometimes a misconception that okay, and now I'm going to have to buy, a brand new this and a brand new that and a brand new this. And I mean, I remember doing your looks, like putting together your makeup looks and going, okay, so that's three products and two of them you have. And
Yeah.
it was just so much more, it was so much more, I think, simple than perhaps people kind of dream it up to be, right? Like with anything that we try that's new, I think it can be overwhelming, and you sometimes can talk yourself into thinking it's going to be like this big insurmountable task that you're not going to be equipped, you're not going to have what you need, and you're not going to be able to get what you need in enough time to do it. And that was just not the experience. And so
Yeah, and I also will say that, like, just, like, being able to talk to someone like yourself who is a makeup expert, right? Who, like, know like, who knows when I ask something, but, like, maybe don't use the right terminology, or, like, when I describe one thing I do or, like, that I like in terms of makeup, you have 5 other things that you can recommend, or, like, 3 different products that might be similar. Do you know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
that depth of knowledge that, like, I don't think you can get from just like, well, now I'm going to just, like, Google something and, like, even, like, I know there are tons of, like, videos on YouTube or whatever, but, like, just having that, like, actual feedback, like, person, like, someone, an expert's brain that has more information connected in a way that, like, it's just honestly never going to be true for me. That was also really helpful because I really, like, trusted your expertise. Um, and, I just think that was also really helpful.
That is so great to hear, because what I think can be also really challenging is when you when you Google, you sometimes don't even know what you're looking for. So you don't know what terms to ask or like what to type into that search bar. And even when you go to, well, right now we're going nowhere, but like if you were to go and ask someone at Ulta or Sephora, they don't know you, and they don't know your likes and your dislikes, and they don't know any of your hesitations about like, oh, I've had this history with this particular item and like I'm not going back there. So they're only ever really kind of feeding you what they can in terms of recommendations based on like a really teeny amount of information that you give them. And for so many of us, we're not going to tell this person our life story in order to, right? You're not going to open up with like, okay, so I'm a mom, I've got 2 little kids, and I'm a former lawyer, and I work from home. Right, like that's just not naturally what we're going to do when we're trying to get advice about a lipstick.
Yeah. No, that they'd be like, "Wow, TMI.
Yeah.
Really? That's, like, way too much." And I also, like, I can't even tell you, like, to your point about, like, Googling and just, like, not even knowing, like, I would run across, like, these quizzes about, like, what is your skin undertone, or, like, lip colors for every skin type, and then, like, they show, like, pictures of celebrities, and I'd be like, "I don't is that person supposed to, like, is that?" But, like, I don't really think I it just I don't know. Again, perhaps that comes naturally to some people, but it did not come naturally to me. And so, I would frequently be like, wait, do I have this sort of undertone or this sort of undertone? Is this the kind of color that's supposed to work, or this? And because for me, it was not like a big part of my life or a huge priority, it was just like, that's way too much. I'm just going to, like, not even go down that road. And so for me, makeup tune up was like, it was like the thing that you need if you're in a position like me and, like, want to know a little bit more, but don't want to fall down the endless, like, I don't know, like, quizzes on, like, InStyle's website about, I don't even know if that magazine exists anymore, but perhaps I'm dating myself. About, like, what's the right lip color for you for spring? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not even sure I'm answering these questions correctly.
Yes. Oh, that's so real. Oh, I like those little quizzes, but yeah, it's a rabbit hole for sure that you can fall down and never get out, because you keep kind of circling, or like it's a cycle. You're like, okay, well, I'm gonna try again now. It's been three, you don't realize, but it's like been 3 years since you gave something a go. You try something
Mhm.
new, and then you're like, oh no, nope, missed the mark again. And it either, I always call it the drawer of shame, which is like where that makeup that you don't use goes
Yeah.
to like live forever, because you've already invested the money, so you feel bad about it, so you're not going to throw it away. You probably don't know that you can return makeup. You now know that, Sarah.
I do. I was gonna say that was one of the life-changing lessons from Makeup Tune-Up. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I can return this? This is amazing." Yeah.
But instead it goes right, it just goes into that drawer. And every time you open it up, you feel bad about yourself all over again. It's the reminder that you screwed up that one time. See, you really don't know what you're doing, right? Like it's just telling you all this terrible stuff that also, first of all, is not true. But it just continues to perpetuate that idea in your head that like I can't do this. It's too hard. I count myself out. It's not for me.
Yeah. It's like the makeup mean girl inside your head. And for me, it was like, I mean, and not to be like, I'm so amazing, but like, I am very smart. I went to college on a academic scholarship. I went to a highly ranked law school. And so there is also this element of like, how can I be in my 30s and like literally not know how to do eyeliner? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
like this seems like something I should be able to master because um whatever, because of my like academic track record. And just sort of realizing like it's a completely different kind of knowledge, and like it doesn't mean that I'm like a failure as a makeup wearing human.
Yes, for sure. So you've talked a bit about your experience in makeup tune-up, and I'd like to hear like what were your big takeaways besides, you've already mentioned like knowing you can return makeup, right? So yeah, what were some of your big takeaways and what is it like now when you get ready to do your makeup compared to what it was like before the program?
So for sure, knowing I could return makeup was super helpful. Also learning how to actually do eyeliner, and like which wasn't just like the here's like the physical way that you do eyeliner, but it was like here are the different types, and here's why this type that you tried before was probably actually a lot more challenging and not really something that you need to mess with. Try this other thing. So that was really helpful. And then just again, I think I mentioned like always having I feel like for years it was like no matter what I did, anytime I'd buy new makeup, it ended up being like the exact same eyeshadow color, even if it was like a different brand, or like the exact same lip color. Like because I would just there were colors that I was comfortable with, which was good, but it was like even when I was trying to break out of the mold, I'd be like, "Oh, this is like the exact same color as the previous one." And so just sort of having some tools to be able to like actually know like here are some options that you could look at that you might actually enjoy that are not exactly the same as what you already have. And then also, I mean, part of it for me was, just sort of having the like it's almost like reassurance that like hey, like what you're doing even though it maybe doesn't look as like involved as what someone else might do is like completely fine. Like it's not like, "Oh my goodness, you should be doing so much more," and, like, it's just an epic excuse me, an epic failure that you're not, whatever, being more involved. And then for me also, like, I do a lot of, Zoom calls slash webinars, like, 2020, 2021 pandemic life, but also I was doing a lot of that even before, with former lawyer, and so just knowing like, okay, if I'm going to be on camera and I want to look maybe a little bit more awake than I might otherwise look, like here are some things that I can do. That was also really helpful.
That is great to hear. I especially connect with that idea that I'm always trying to tell people like what works for you is so important. Like it's important to know like what do you want? How do you want to look? And how do you want to feel? Because what you do can be very different from what somebody else does, and both can be great, right? Like you don't have to look at somebody else's makeup and use that as the standard for what you should be doing if that doesn't meet your needs, that doesn't give you that's maybe beyond the time that you have to offer to makeup in the day. And ultimately you could put it on, right? You could put on somebody else's makeup and look in the mirror and go, this isn't right.
Yeah. Well, and I think, for me, it's like I put on makeup like in a professional context. I'll put it on like well, when we would go to church in person, which one day we will do again, or like if my husband and I would go on a date night, but like I work part time and like on the days when I'm with my girls, like it's like face sunblock and go. Like just that's, I don't feel like the program was like, "Oh, there's something wrong with you for doing that." Like you said, it was like giving you tools to do what you want to do that works for you, not trying to make you not trying to it wasn't trying to make each of us into like mini clones of Keela and like her sort of like personal makeup philosophy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap up, but I wanted to ask you, were there any final thoughts that you wanted to share with anyone who may be on the fence and considering joining Makeup Tune Up?
I mean, honestly, I think if you're on the fence, then you should join because there's something in you that is saying like this is interesting to me. And I think sometimes when we make an investment in something like this, for me, like again, it wasn't like this is an integral part of like my job or this is something that is like really a big part of my life. Um but it was still worth it. Like it was worth it to sort of explore a part, like something that I hadn't really spent a lot of time doing before. And I think if you're feeling the pull to join, or even if it sounds interesting, then like you will get benefit from being a part of it. And also, it's just really fun, like super fun.
That is awesome. Sarah, thank you so much. This has been great. I always find it really helpful to hear from someone who's been through something that I'm considering. So I really appreciate your time and telling us everything about your experience.
Of course, I was happy to do it.
All right. So, everyone, I am going to remind you one more time. Makeup Tune Up is open. It is going to be closing on Saturday. So, you can go to 85beauty.com/makeup tune up. It's in the comments, so you can get there really easily and you can secure your spot right now. So, you don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to go back and forth about, like, well, maybe not. I keep hearing, like, I just don't know that now is the right time. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. In 6 weeks' time, you can instantly feel more confident in what you're doing. So you can wait. You can wait like 2 or 3 months because it'll take that long for me to reopen it and then try to do it later. Or you can feel better in 6 weeks. I mean, it's really up to you. I want you to make the choice that makes you feel great, but I think that you should go for it. And as Sarah already said, it's so much fun. Like, makeup is supposed to be that way. I do want everyone to feel like that part of my personal philosophy. I do want you to like adopt that. Like, it can be fun. It can be easy for you. Like, promise you it can. And more than anything, you can have the makeup that works for you when you choose to wear it. So I hope to see you in Makeup Tune Up, and I will see you tomorrow in our next video. Thanks for watching. And as always, stay fabulous. Bye, y'all.